I am on mute. Thank you. I'm sorry. Me, I've been talking to myself this whole time. I gotta admit, that was a pretty good intro, too. And me and the wife are the only one that heard it. Yeah, I got the mic. It's working now. Should be. Nimby was on mute. Nimby apologizes. I'm sorry. My headset, I have it set to auto mute when I'm working. So, I thoroughly apologize. Yeah. I normally check every time I start, but given I was also confused. I was doing so good there too. No one will ever know. No one will have any idea how good I did. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping in either way. Hey, we got Dustin in, we got Pacific Northwest Outdoors, or PNW. We got K-Fish Pro, who... Was he the one that had the first one in, or who had first here? It was K-Fish. There you go. And we had Ethan Lures jump in right after him with a close second. Of course, we got Dusted. And Wee Man. Is that everyone? Did I get everyone? Yeah, I think that's everyone for now. Cool. And Dustin threw me a super chat. I even missed Dustin's super chat. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. If I wasn't muted, you guys would know all this already. But of course, I was muted, and I apologize. I am tying a Las Vegas Leech, which is sounds super fancy, but it's actually just a basic leech pattern for the interior of BC. I'm not actually sure why they call it a Las Vegas Leech. Thank you, Dustin, for the donation. I thoroughly appreciate it. Me and my family really appreciate any donations to the channel. I know you guys all work hard for your bones, and it makes me super happy that you're willing to share some of that to help us out. So we're just gonna get that. We started off with the cone. I'll start over because I was obviously muted this whole time here. So we started off with the bead on the hook. I did that ahead of time just to make things easier for everyone. But it is a 3mm bead, or 3.2 if it really matters for anyone, but honestly it's not going to look any different whether it's 3 or 3.2. And just simply slid on the hook like so. These beads have a conical one side and a rounded other side. So I'm not sure if you can see it or if I'm blocking the light. So you can see it there, where it's got a conical big hole on one side and a little hole on the other. And that helps it slide around the bead head. If I'm tying with those type of beads, I do have just regular round brass beads that would work well for this. I'll add a little bit of lead like we did there, just to fill that conical hole, and it'll also just stop the bead from pulling back. It'll add a little bit of weight, but I mean, the bead head is going to do that anyway. Another common pattern to this one is doing the same thing in what's called a balanced leech format, where you extend the bead forward with a little bit of wire so that where you're tying your hook in is actually the balance point or the midpoint. So your head would be, well, you can't see my finger, but just out here at the edge of the screen. And that'll balance it so that it's not head heavy, it's balance, hence the name. Okay, so we're just going to do a thread base all the way down to the barb. And then a couple wraps on top just to pin it all in. Should be good. There we are. And we're going to go back. And the back wraps can be loose like that. You can see the kind of segmentations a little bit there. Because that's going to allow the Marabou to... Stop moving, tripod. There we go. Come on. There, that's good. That's going to allow the Marabou to stick to the hook a little better. That'll be the first kind of material that we're tying in. I'm going to be using just this black strung Marabou, so nothing crazy. We're tying on a size 6 long shank Aberdeen hook. I like to use the Aberdeen hooks for these because you can do a loop knot on the end instead of a clench knot, and the loop knot will allow a lot more movement because, of course, being a leech, it has a good bit of movement to it. and the loop knot will allow you to have more movement than you would without. Now you want to have about 12 to 15 of these fibers on your tail. More isn't necessarily better. Typically you're going to have your blood quill feathers, that's what these ones are if you're using strung, and they're going to have this kind of nasty, hence the name, where it connects to the bird. So you want to separate this and pull all this off because it's got a casing to it, and that's not going to tie in well at all, and it's not going to be useful for anything, so just pull that off. If you're tying smaller flies, you can save that if you need like little wispy bits for well, all sorts of different things, from breather tubes to legs to what have you. And on the top right after that, you're going to have a number of these, which are kind of like the blood quills. So these are just like underduff, like you would have a secondary feather on. There's another. This one's actually pretty good. We might actually use that one, so I'll put it aside. But you should have 2 or 3 of those underduff feathers before you get to the actual marabou feather, which is the rest of this. Now this one's dyed. Obviously it was white marabou because you can see where they've messed up the dyeing. And we got a patch of white in there, which is pretty common with a blood quill. Yeah, we do have one more here. So there we go. We got one more of those. Now you can keep these and stack these larger ones up. You should have 2 per feather. Sometimes you get a weird one and it's got 3. That's nature throwing you a little curveball. And that one's not. So it will split at times, and you'll get one that looks like this, that looks like a third, but these fronds, here, I'm going to take a little bit to explain this one, and when I come back, we won't be doing all this explanation, we'll just jump right into the tying. But you can see these guys here, hopefully you can see how much shorter they are, and they're kind of wisped on an angle. So they're not as useful for anything, but you can tie them in as a shorter tail or for bulk for your tail. But you don't want to tie in this bottom part here. It is super brittle and it'll just come all apart on you. If you have select or premium marabou, a lot of times this is all cleaned out for you already, so you won't have to worry about it. But this isn't obviously select or premium marabou, even though it's fly tying shop marabou. But you can see this one here, how much longer the fronds are on this, almost double than these. So this one is actually part of the feather. But that's what I'll say. Sometimes you'll get a third. And it all depends on how old the bird is when they're harvesting it. Excuse me. Getting fluff in my nose. Okay. So again, we want 15 or so strands. And that is roughly a little bit less than this. So we're going to not quite half this. But I'm going to take some more off of these sides. You can see that it'll flatten out. You'll get a few more of these little wispy bits. So if you're going to thin it out a bit, those are the best ones to thin out. And I'm going to thin them out also because the dye job in that area wasn't really done well. So now that we got those cleaned up, you can see this is more like an actual feather now, where it's flat, and it's hard to see it. I can feel it with my fingers more than I can see it. But there is an actual rachis that goes up the center, because it is an actual feather. There you go. Now I can pull it apart. You can see the rachis going on there. So you want to get rid of all those fluffy bits like we did. And like I said, if you're buying premium strung marabou, yeah, it's definitely making my nose itch. Thankfully, I'm going to be tying this area in anyway, so it's not going to matter. But we're going to get rid of a few of these. You can go hog wild. A lot of, like, the vast majority of tyers will just tie this whole thing in and not worry about it, because the amount of difference it's going to make is very, very minute. But it's just like if you're tying in hackle, you could leave all that fluff on the bottom of your hackle. Oh, good. Yeah, you could do the same thing like when you're prepping out a hackle feather, right? You could easily leave all that stuff on the bottom of your hackle, not even worry about cleaning it up. And it's not going to wreck your fly or anything. It's just prepped to get a nicer, better looking fly. So there we go. So this would be your finished product. Again, you can see how unfortunately bad the dye job was. Definitely didn't leave this in the dye lot long enough. And it also gives it a little bit more of a gray tone to it than a black tone, which I'm actually happy for because that matches our leeches here better. We rarely get like actual black leeches. They're generally more on the brown spectrum. But they'll hit it. But you can see how much nicer this is now that it's been cleaned up, because we'll be tying it in. We'll be tying it in about here. And if you want more movement, you can actually rip off each side and cut the rachis out. That will give you a gob more movement. And you can just basically tie it in. So what you'd end up doing, you're grabbing all the tips here. And there you go. So you get all the tips out one side, and this is just one side of the Marabou. If you want like the best movement you can get out of the fly, you do that. Hold them together. As I'm dropping them all. You want them like roughly have all the tips together. You'd cut them off like that, or just tear them off. Now that you got the rachis here, so you just go boop, pop it off like you would a regular feather. On this specific one, the rachis is fairly flexible, so I'm not going to worry about it, and this particular pattern doesn't call for that. But yeah, if you want a nice leech with a lot of movement out the back, that's exactly what you do. You just pull them off either side, tie it in two bunches, normally a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right, or your side of the hook, my side of the hook, and away you go, off to the races. But this fly can easily be tied as like a quick and dirty, just tying this whole feather in. In my opinion, the fish really aren't gonna care. They're not gonna matter. So just to make things easier on myself, I'm gonna just cut this whole area off that wasn't dyed. Now I have to hang on to this feather now that I've done that, because it's not attached to the rachis anymore. And if I let go, it'll just go poof and go everywhere. Got ourselves a nice deal. So we want to have this, what you want to do is measure the tips. So we got the tips there to where we're going to be tying in. You want to have at least a hook length, like minimum. So your Marabous are all going to be different sizes, so it's good just to check. This one's clearly over the length that we need. But you want to go a minimum of a hook length back. And if I move my camera back too much more, so you guys can see the whole tail, then unfortunately we won't. I should cut a little bit more off that. Still getting that gray up front. It's going to get hidden by the body wrap anyway, but I don't need it, so I'll just cut it out and make it look a little prettier. There we go. Okay, so we're going to tie that in. Basically like really no different than you would be doing like a woolly bugger. This pattern is very similar to, sorry, I keep pulling this out. I want to have a clean cut up front. There we go. This pattern is very similar to how you tie a woolly bugger with Marabou. Just instead of chenille, we're going to be using cactus chenille. In green, oddly enough, of all colors. And again, since we're covering this whole body, we're not really super worried about keeping this completely packed down, have a nice smooth body, because the cactus chenille is going to go right over. Hey Muddy, good to have you in, mate. And I'm just going to go back up to the head and then back down. We're going to tie our, actually we'll go right to about where the point is. That normally works a little better for me. There, so I got the nice poofy tail. I'm just going to move the camera real briefly here so you guys can see the tail. Hey, no worries, Muddy. Always good to have you drop in, even if it's only for a brief moment. Pleasure having you in, mate. Good day at work, too, eh? And the piece de resistance, the part I had to go get from the fly shop. Some original Flashabou in this wonderful, it's like a black fleckled gold, or not gold, red, which works great for any leech pattern. That little bit of shock of bright red that flashes through Just works so well on leech patterns. Even though they don't have any natural red in them, obviously, for whatever reason, it just works real well. So just gonna try and pull out a couple fibers because that's all we need. You want to put at least 2 on either side. If I can pull out 2 fibers, then that'll be enough because we'll just double it up. It's a big if, apparently. Normally these come out a lot easier. There we go. Ugh. Come on, buddy. Hey, it's Rob. Good to have you in, Rob. Come on. Oh, why is this one so hard? Normally they just pull out. I'm not sure why this one's fighting me so bad. I don't want to pull too hard and like stretch them all to get out. Well, that didn't work. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to cut some. Hold tight. Sorry guys, I was trying to avoid this, but I'm gonna have to pull some out of the top here. All my other ones I can normally just pull a couple out of the bottom. But they obviously really crank that holder bit on there. That's okay. So another way you can do it is just pulling it out the top here. I'm just using some tweezers to grab them. Then you only have to deal with a couple strands. If you take this out of the package, like, good luck getting it back in. Oh, I was expecting Dusted to say that one. I don't know why, things always seem to be more challenging when Dusted's around. No offense, Dusted. Okay, I got 4 strands here. So, we're gonna tie in 2 on one side, 2 on the other, but I got enough here for like several flies, so we're gonna try and gently lay these 2 down for the next one. These are colored evenly on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way you go. Some of the cheaper Flashbill you'll get will have a sided coloration. In that case, you want to at least attempt to get it on the correct side. Just trying to straighten this end out. It's going to for me. Okay, no, it's going to be a toot, so I'm just going to cut it off. So we got lots of Flashbill. There. Alright, let's tie your guys' side in first. So you just have 2 strands here. That's all you need. 2 strands per side, and you want to go right to the end of the tail. This part's not rocket science. You've seen Ruben and everyone do this 1,000 times. So I'm just going to tie that in, leave those 2 up, and then those 2 are going to be our near side, or your guys' far side, I suppose. Hey, good to have you in. It's Yoshi. Hey Yoshi, it was good to see you on Maddie's channel there, that's cool. Never. Rob doesn't get distracted, he just gets more focused. Okay, so we got that tied in. Normally I have enough after that's tied in to do 2 flies, so that's normally exactly half. You can also double up or quadruple up a single strand. It's just generally easier to just tie them in 2 at a time like this. But yeah, as you can see here, given on the tail length, I got enough for a whole nother fly there. Okay, now oddly enough with this pattern, besides the gold bead, which obviously leeches do not have, it calls for cactus chenille in peacock, which is what this one is. I know the package says black, but it's peacock. I just reused the bag. Yeah, sorry, I got some pretty funky music going there. I normally just skip that one, but some days I'm kind of in the mood for some funky music, you know? Definitely not early in the morning though. A lot of times that's when I'm skipping that song because it's a little bit much for me. Okay, so we're gonna cut off a piece. I'm gonna say here, and this kind of darker colored peacock is perfect for this. Even though again it's not a traditional leech color whatsoever, it's very attractive and it works really well. You can tie this with black chenille, like saying there's hundreds of combinations of this fly. One that works exceedingly well, which we'll probably be tying in the next day or so here, is red leech, like a blood leech. Yeah, we got leeches like pretty much every water, except for like rivers. Even though they are in the rivers, just the chance of you getting a leech on you in a river is fairly small because the water's always moving. Really? Yeah, I hear that you can that can happen, but I'm sure it's pretty low chance. Okay, I'm gonna bring my line all the way up. If you didn't see what I did there, I didn't narrate it, but I just tied in. I stripped off a little bit of the cactus chenille and tied it in. Excuse me. Yeah, no, Ethan makes good stuff. I need to jump on more of his videos more often. It's always a challenge between the creating and the consuming. I'm going to use a bit of a heavier, once I get it untangled from my whip finisher. Come on, there we go. I'm going to use a slightly heavier, and I even got some flash in there still. I'm going to use a slightly heavier hackle plier here. Keep forgetting how zoomed in, man. Size 6 long shank Aberdeen. I like the long shanks for leeches because, well, leeches are longer. They can be all sorts of different sizes, but generally speaking for the leeches here, they're like a good size leech will be 3 to 5 inches. But yeah, I like to tie these with a heavier hackle plier just to keep this wound up, so it keeps some tension on it for the cactus chenille so that it doesn't lump. Ugh, and this doesn't stay put. There you go. But it just makes it a little easier to twist this up, almost like a dubbing twister. And I'm twisting this in a clockwise rotation. And then we're going to get that all the way around. And not get it caught on our hook point. Come on now. Behave yourself. If you're a new tyer, having the tail interrupt you or just be a pain in your butt is very, very common. So don't feel bad about it. If your tail is really, really, really bugging you and just keeps getting in your way for these first few wraps, which it probably will, you can get a smaller hackle plier. If you have a hackle plier that doesn't have a lot of oomph to it, you know, like not a lot of pressing power, then you can throw a hackle plier on your tail. They do make specific material clips to hold things back like this, but honestly, just doing here, I'll do it with one of my hackle pliers here. So this one here has a padded rubber pad, so it's not typically too hard on materials. But if your tail's driving you nuts and you're trying to tie, you can get it like this. Make sure your hackle plier is pointing up, and then just let it rest down on your vise or wherever it's going to be, so it's not going all over the place on you. And then when you're done, your first couple wraps or all your wraps, you can just come in and take it out, just smooth it back out. As long as you're somewhat careful and don't twist it too terribly much, it's not going to impact your tail at all. But there you go. Life lesson. Now how sparse or thick you want to make these is totally up to you. This guy's taking a little more than I was expecting, obviously, so I didn't twist this up yet. Some people like to put them fairly sparse, and they'll actually put an underbody and almost rib the fly with the cactus chenille. I've seen people do it that way. Or you can have it nice and thick like I'm doing it. I like mine pretty thick. just feel like it gives it a little bit better movement and water displacement. The fish key in mostly on leeches due to water displacement, because the way the leech moves in the water is really different than any other food source in the water column. Because they move a lot of water. They move like a snake in the water. They twist their body, they turn it, they kick, they fight, and nothing else in the water is doing that. So when the fish feel that water disturbance, they key in on it and they go right after it, thinking it's a big juicy meal. So anything you can do to add more, not necessarily bulk, but more movement, and the flash here is going to help with the fish keying in on it. So it doesn't look a lot like a leech, but man, does it ever work good as a leech. Just trying to pull a little bit of this back around the bead here. And I'm just going to get one more wrap around the bead, just like you see Ruben or anyone else's tying jigs do. That'll be my tie off. That just kind of helps hide your thread. As I bunk my thread everywhere. There we go. So, super simple, cool little leech pattern. I mean, if you're just learning to tie next to a woolly bugger, like for effectiveness, especially in interior BC, I'd probably throw this long before I throw a woolly bugger, just to be honest with you. Because these are in the water column at all times, and the woolly buggers more likely are going to represent a caddis or a different type of insects that have a hatch period. Where this leeches are in the water column all times a year. There's always going to be some leeches in the water, especially the big boys because they've been around for a bit. You get more of the smaller ones come spring and everything like that when they do reproduce a bit more. Just trying to pull this back a little bit here. It's not necessary, but I want to get a nice clean thread wrap behind the bead. There we go. There she is. So you can see that nice little, like that little tiny bit of red holographic in the tail. Even though I know leeches don't have blood associated with them, it really makes a difference as far as the amount of pickups you're gonna get. And it's just a little tiny accent that you can throw in that's gonna drastically increase your take for the day. So I'm just gonna lay that right on top. Oh, don't slide on me, buddy. Come on now. It's like my tools forget that we're live, and it's you know, they keep making all the mistakes. We'll blame it on the tools. Why not? There we go. Yeah, I got 2 half hitches on there. We'll throw a whip finish on. And that, my friends, is a Las Vegas Leech. I have no idea why it got named that. It doesn't remind me of Las Vegas really at all, besides the little extra flash that it has to it. But most leech patterns have some kind of flash, so I'm not sure. It did come from Phil and Brian's pattern book. So if I ever run, or when I run into them, I'm sure I will this year. When I run into them, I might ask, why is that called Las Vegas Leech? And they'll probably say, I don't know, it sounded cool. Okay. Yeah. Now all that stuff that we pulled off earlier, that we cleaned up, if you're just making these, as I pull it all apart. There we go. If you're making these for your own box, honestly, it doesn't matter, right? So like this is what we took out. This was the waist, okay? And you can see that this part of the waist is still actually fairly usable. You can see how much it's kicking out funny, and it's not nearly as nice as the middle part of the feather was, but it's still totally usable. So if you needed to bulk up, if you had a smaller feather, you can save these up, and you'll have enough to kind of add to it to get. I wouldn't necessarily sell, sell flies like that, but oh, maybe that's why. I keep forgetting that a lot of our fly tying material actually is something else in the world, and we just use it for fly tying. But yeah, that's probably actually exactly what it is. That would make sense. Well, that's one way to attract fly tyers into your casino, right? Yeah, yeah. I ran when I was in Las Vegas. There were people doing that too. They run up and try and take your photo quick, and then say you have to buy it, and scam artist. I'd turn the tables on him and be like, "Dude, I'm famous on YouTube. You owe me money for that." Well, that would be a lie. Got a little thread kicking down here. I'm just gonna knock off a piece of chenille. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, yeah, piece of chenille. 1 second. Okay, so I'll do a quick spin and spiel. There's your Las Vegas shrimp pattern. Here's the picture from the book. You can see we got her nailed pretty good, I think. It's pretty good representation. Okay, let's see if I can back up just a hair so I get more of that. Might not be in focus, but it's close enough. Alright. And the vise today we have a size 6 long shank Aberdeen hook with a brass bead on the front top. This is a Las Vegas Leech pattern. It's a really awesome, useful pattern for the whole interior BC, as leeches are in the whole water column all times of the year. So it's much easier to tie than, say, a woolly bugger would be, and it's just, if not more, effective. So feel free to throw a couple in your box. In the black marabou tail, we also have a couple strands of this kind of blood red flashabou, just to give it a little bit of kick and flash. Wonderful little pattern. Add a couple to your box, eh? The money sucking leech. Yeah, that might be a more appropriate name for it. I might have to tie me up a money sucking leech pattern. Yeah, but you guys can see it's only a couple materials that are easy to find pretty much anywhere. You can get marabou, you can get a couple strands of flash, and you can get some cactus chenille, almost anywhere online or any fly shop. So if you're new tyer, this is an awesome pattern to add into your got some new tea today, actually, some imported London tea. I'm actually really enjoying it. Never had it before, but I'm really enjoying it. It's good tea. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to call it for this fly for today. I'll be back in a couple hours. Just going to go pick up the kidlets from school. So I just want to thank everyone for dropping in. What a pretty little shiner that is, eh? Look at how it just throws the light. I can tell why the cactus chenille works so well for that. Even though, like we said, it's not leech color, but I can see that really popping in the water in the sunshine. Kind of excited to use that guy, actually. Okay, we'll add him into our box. He can go hang out with all his little tiny friends. He's going to be like massive in here, but he's going to go hang out in the box. Yeah, thanks for stopping in, all. I really want to try some burbot stuff. It's such a cool fish. We don't have them here. Well, I shouldn't say we don't. We do. It's just not close to me. I'd have to drive a couple hours. But it's on my list. One day I will have one on the end of my line. Yeah, there we go. He's so much bigger than all the other ones in there. Eh. I like your aquarium streams, man. I know they're like repetitive and helps with the watch hours and all that stuff, but I've caught myself just staring at it for like an hour or two while making dinner and stuff at times. I think they're cool. I think you should keep them up. Okay, guys, have a good one. Gonna go grab